Hi BookTube, it's Gina. Today is Tuesday and you know what that means. It's time for a tag. I am going to do the Picture This tag. It was created by two of my favorite BookTube people, Shelly Swearingen and Jack at Spread Book Joy. And they created this tag to go along with their Picture This 2022 readathon, which is a month that we're spending this month in April reading children's picture books, which has just been so much fun. I did a TBR, I'm reading along, and I'm having a blast reading picture books. And this tag is all inspired by children's picture books. Now, the answers don't have to be picture books. They are keeping it wide open, but the prompts are all inspired by children's picture books. So let's get started. Prompt number 1 is Love You Forever, written by Robert Munsch and illustrated by Shelia McGraw. Name a book you imagine you'll love forever. And I have a few of these, but I'm going to go with my old standby, The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. This is the actual copy that I had as a kid. This is one of the first books that I remember falling in love with. I remember where I was when I read it, and it's so special that I actually have the same edition still that was the one I read when I was a kid. I've loved this forever, and I will continue to love this book forever. It is just such a wonderful, wonderful read. I love the first scene where the mole is spring cleaning his little house, first with brooms, then with dusters, then on ladders and steps and chairs, with a brush and a pail of whitewash, till he had dust in his throat and eyes and splashes of whitewash all over his black fur. And he realizes it is spring, and he throws aside his cleaning and sticks his head out and starts exploring, and it is glorious. If you have not read this book, I highly, highly recommend it. I also actually have a new one I'm going to recommend. This is A Place to Hang the Moon by Kate Albus. This is probably one of my new favorite books of all time. I loved this book, set in England during the Blitz. 3 orphans have to go live in the country and search for a family. And it is such a sweet, sweet book. Absolutely love this one. It's definitely going to be an all-time favorite. Prompt number 2 is Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, Very Bad, No Good Day, written by Judith Viorst and illustrated by Ray Cruz. Which books or comforting things do you turn to when you are having a bad day? So I have a few things for this one. And this one, not so much for a bad day, but when I'm having a tough time or when I want something to read that I know I'm just going to fall into, I go to my old standby, Miss Read, and this is A Peaceful Retirement. Look at this cover. How could you be having a bad day when you are sharing it with this person in this beautiful little cottage and village? I love these books so much. Oh, there's a cat too. Look at that. There's a cat. When I'm going through a rough patch or just feeling anxiety, these books always help to just make me feel better. I love them so much. Now, these I read generally on my Kindle because cuddling in bed with the covers up around your ears and maybe a cup of tea that you're drinking off to the side at night in the dark is such a wonderful reading experience, and you cannot have a bad day when you're cuddled in to bed with some cozy covers, maybe a cat snooched in right next to you. It's wonderful. Now, I've also got some things like this. So books do furnish a room, and then books make a home. When I want to just flip through something to make me feel better, I will flip through these books. Aren't these glorious? I love these. And look at this. Speaking of picture books, look at that children's collection. Isn't that just beautiful? I love this. And I just, when I've had a bad day, it's so nice to just take a step back, make a nice drink, flip through a comfortable book. I like to watch a little Netflix or TV at the end of the day. And so a cozy English sitcom like As Time Goes By with Judi Dench, or Keeping Up Appearances with Patricia Rutledge are very, very nice ways to help to cheer me up or calm me down when I'm having a bad day. Okay, prompt number 3 is The Very Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. Which book, series, or character sparked your hunger for reading? And all right, I'm going with an old standby again. I have to go with The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. These books are so important to me. I started reading them when I was in 6th grade. I was very young, and I have read them repeatedly since then. And I can't imagine my life as a reader without having read these books at such a young age. They are just part of my DNA, and ever since then, I was a reader before that, but these really solidified that I'm going to read a lot. Prompt number 4, Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. What's the most unusual book you've ever read? And I have not read, I would say I don't read a lot of unusual books, but I'm going to go for Arcadia by Ian Pears for this one. This was a wonderful book. The description says, dazzlingly inventive and deeply satisfying, Arcadia tests the boundaries of storytelling and asks, if the past can change the future, then might the future also indelibly alter the past? And so I would say it's slightly experimental in its time frames, the way it weaves the past and the future together. And in addition to that, listen to this. In 1960s Oxford, Professor Henry Lytton is attempting to write a fantasy novel that forgoes the magic of his predecessors, J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. He finds an unlikely confidant in his quick-witted, inquisitive young neighbor, Rosie. One day, while chasing Lytton's cat, Rosie encounters a doorway into his cellar. She steps through and finds herself in an idyllic pastoral land where storytellers are revered above all others. This was a really good book. I loved it a lot. Prompt number 5, Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. What is your favorite book featuring the natural world? And all right, you guys, this is really a tag full of some of my old favorites. Because for this one, I'm going to go with September by Rosamund Pilcher, my beloved Rosamund Pilcher. And one of the reasons why I love her so much, there are many reasons why I love her so much, but one of the reasons why I love her so much is her description of the outside world. So listen to this. In early May, the summer came at last to Scotland. Winter had clung with steely fingers for far too long, refusing to relinquish its cruel grip. All through April, bitter winds had blown from the northwest, tearing the first blossom from the wild genes. I don't know what this is. Geynes. I'll have to look that up. And burning brown the yellow trumpets of the early daffodils. Snow frosted the hilltops and lay deep in corries, and the farmers, despairing of fresh grazing, sorry, I'm also not wearing my good glasses, tractored the last of their feed out to the barren fields where lowing stock huddled in the shelter of the dry stone walls. That was not possibly the best reading ever, but the whole book is like that. She's very descriptive of food, of gardens, of weather, of houses, of people, and I just love it. It's fantastic. Prompt number 6, Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown and illustrated. I chopped off whoever illustrated it, so I'll have to find out who that is and put it down below. Prompt is, do you read at bedtime? Do you read to someone else at bedtime? And did anyone ever read to you at bedtime? I don't remember anyone reading to me at bedtime. So I don't, it's likely my mother did. I have no memory of it because I have a terrible memory. I do not read to anyone else at bedtimes. I don't have any kids in my life, and my husband could not care less if I read aloud to him. But I do read to myself at bedtime, as you know. One of my favorite places to read is in bed, start of my whole evening relaxing routine. I always have a book going on my Kindle that is usually something that is fairly low drama. Right now I'm reading Miss Mole by E.H. Young. Really enjoying that. And I like to read in bed on my Kindle. Like I said before, all cuddled up. Prompt number 7, Guess How Much I Love You by Sam McBratney and illustrated by Anita Jerem. Who had the biggest influence on you as a reader? And I had a teacher in 5th and 6th grade. I lived in a small town, and so we had the same teacher for 5th grade and for 6th grade. And he was a wonderful early supporter of all of us reading, exploring, learning. He was fantastic, and I'm so grateful that I had that person in my life for those early years. Prompt number 8, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Which book or set of books would you give to an emerging reader? Which book have you given as a gift more than once? I don't know that I've ever given a book as a gift, to be honest. I don't have that many readers around. I've bought books for my spouse, but nothing that I've given them because I think they should read it. Usually I'm picking stuff off of a wish list or something like that. As far as which book or set of books I would give to an emerging reader, I think it depends on the reader. If it's like a young teenage reader, I would recommend starting with something like Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen or something like that. The Lord of the Rings, I think that's a great one to start with for fantasy. I read it when I was very young and I thought it was very easy to enjoy. But I think it sort of depends on the person, on the age group, on what they like. I would recommend different things depending on who the person was. That is it. So I'm going to tag a couple of people, 3 people. I'm going to tag Ursula at Ursula's Odds and Sods, who has a new-ish booktube channel, and she's really trying to make some booktube friends. I'm going to tag Leo at Leo Bancroft, and I'm going to tag Kim at The Paper Traveler. I was so excited to do this tag. Thank you, Shelly and Jack, for tagging me, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.